All right, y'all, when it's freezing outside, I am an indoor human. I am an indoorsy gal. And this time of year, every cat is an indoor cat. If there's one thing that can really stink up being stuck inside, it's the litter box. Don't let that nasty smell ruin your winter wonderland. Switch to Pretty Litter. Pretty Litter's non-clumping formula traps odor and moisture. It's ultra absorbent, it's lightweight, low dust, and one 6-pound bag works for up to a month. And Pretty Litter changes color to indicate early signs of potential illnesses in your cat, like a UTI or a kidney issue. And since Pretty Litter ships free, you're never going to run out. And then you don't have those huge kitty litter bags taking up space. So y'all know my daughter has a pet sitting business and she loves Pretty Litter. She was very excited when Pretty Litter showed up at our house. She says her clients really love how Pretty Litter's health monitor gives them peace of mind. Indoor cats and humans agree. Pretty Litter helps your house smell fresh and clean. Go to prettylitter.com/pinkshade to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/pinkshade to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/pinkshade. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Hey, everybody, welcome to Pink Shade. It's Pop and Bravo. That means it's Thursday, and I'm here with the gal who helped me coin the term Pop and Bravo. We give her all the credit. It's Kate Casey.
Gal is always a funny word.
Yeah, this is this cute little gal that I like to hang around with, my gal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize to everyone. I am still sick. If my voice is a little off, I can't help it. Not still a little sick. I'm totally sick. But you know what, guys? I do it for the people. I'm out here giving you the content. The show must go on, right, Kate?
You know, I was thinking the other day about women and who are moms. And like one time Martha Stewart said, I don't have enough time to be sick. And I thought, that's like every mother of the world.
Have you ever called your doctor and said that? I have. I've said right now, this week, I cannot be sick. I could be sick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm like, I could be sick next week, but this particular week, I cannot be sick. I've said, no.
One Christmas, I was pregnant and I had the stomach flu and still made Christmas dinner for everybody. That to me is motherhood.
I would have insisted that you not with the stomach flu touch my food.
I know. You would think, but no one seemed to have a problem because how else are they going to eat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Keeping your kids alive, I think, on a daily basis is really just sometimes you can go to bed and you're like, that's what I did today.
Yeah.
Yeah. In your case, you kept 5 alive. So when Mia goes to college, how far soon after that will Jack go to college?
3 years. So I got a little bit of time. She left today for Orlando Nationals. 6 days gone. Longest she's been gone without like being home. Like, like without us.
Yeah. See, my kids would go to summer camp starting at their same one that I went to. Would be at summer camp for 3.5 weeks. So
that's great. We tried to do that, but then COVID began. And then they didn't do camps. And then it was like she got too old.
Yeah. Well, you've still got lots of chances with lots more children running around your house.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm actually not, I told you this, I'm not really that. I'm excited for her to have opportunities like college because my niece is a senior in college and I've hung out with her and been around them. Like, I'm excited about them going to college. I'm not going to be like, God, I wish you were home sitting here with me watching The Bachelor. Like, I want them to like go to frat parties and sorority parties and have like a great old time. My niece will drive down because it's like like 40 minutes without traffic. Less than that. They'll come down and they'll do the laundry, but they just really want a home cooked meal. And they want to drink wine and sit on the couch and talk about celebrities and TV shows. And I think this is everything I want in the world.
That's all I want. I just want to sit on the couch and talk about celebrities and TV shows too.
Okay, so wait, let me tell you this one.
Okay. Ooh.
Her Sydney's friend came and she actually dropped out of college because she got a job as an apprentice to a designer that works with like big time female celebrities. And then left that job. And now she works with like an A-list actor and A-list singer, and she styles for them. She really wants to style for men.
And later, will you tell me who it is?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. So we're sitting there and I'm asking her about like housewives, asking her to like, tell me what you think of the, and I showed her like different housewives and their outfits. Like, is this
outfits.
of the season? Like, cause I don't know, like, is this what Chanel has this season? And she's like, no, I've never seen this. I've never seen this. So I showed her a picture of somebody like that lives in my community that always is like head to toe luxury, like head to toe. I said, can you just tell me, like, what do you think about this style? Like, they have to have a stylist because they spend so much money. And she said, oh, there's no way they use a stylist because this outfit's terrible. And it was so fascinating to hear her perspective. And then I asked, well, is that of the season? She said, I have never seen some of these at all. And then I thought, oh, that's weird. I got distracted with something else, like one of the kids came in or something. And then, because she was looking at my phone, right? And she pulls up one of those accounts, and it was a celebrity. And she said, okay, look at this. And it was celebrity meaning like a reality star, because I've shown her at different accounts. And she said, okay, well, look at this. And then I never realized this, but on your Instagram, you can go all the way to the right to the tag. So you have your regular feed, the middle's the reels, and then the right side is tag. And when you click on it, you'll see posts in which that you were tagged.
Okay.
Well, you need to do that.
Oh, yeah. It looks like a little badge or something.
Yes,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So you go to that. She goes, look at this. And that person's entire tagged feed is counterfeit accounts. With
you mean like DH Gate or whatever?
Like accounts that I've never even heard of. And it would be like new stock in, and then it would have like shoes or bags. But she said, look, what happens is they tag all their clients so that they get an update, like new stuff. So she said she's buying all of the counterfeit stuff through Instagram and they're tagging it. And I felt like the clouds parted.
I see a lot of those accounts. And so every so often I'll get like an email and it'll say, like, Neiman Marcus liquidation, and I'll click on it. And then you like, huh? Neiman Marcus is liquidating all their Goyard bags. And then, you go and you click on Neiman Marcus and it'll be like, hello, 123 at something UK. And I'm like, okay, this is not coming.
Well, that's what this person has in their entire feed, but it's more than one. And I just went, okay. So for those of us who are like trying to find bargains and stuff, and like, we have a million kids things to pay for, and we are the last person that we buy things for. It just gave me a little bit of like, it was like a guardian angel just patted me on the back and was like, you're good, girl. You're good. Because everything that they're wearing is actually not from the store. It's all, So anyway, I was just like, God, this is why it's so fun to talk to people who have like a certain skill set to tell you the behind the scenes. And that was one thing. Yeah.
You should get her on and get her to, and you could like.
She's so terrified of like revealing anything that's private, but she did tell me that Sean Combs people had called them like looking to pull looks for something. Like she's like, they think he's getting out.
Okay, well, pull those looks, girl. Make sure that check clears and keep it pushing. I mean, this guy is still there. He hadn't used all his money to pay his lawyers, so
bonkers.
I'd take that check and keep it pushing.
Well, when I interviewed the people from Fall of Diddy, the producer and the directors, I told them that, and they were like, "What?" I'm like, you're surprised? You guys have been making a project for a year. This dude, he's like full of himself. He thinks the rules don't apply to him.
So let me talk about that because so there's two different situations going on with.
Yes, there's a Peacock one and there is a Max. Let me tell you the difference. The Peacock one is more about his origin story, and it interviews like Tim, who he grew up with, and people that knew him in the early part of his career. So we're talking Uptown Records, and Uptown Records is significant because he was an intern there and there were only like 5 employees. It was started by Andre Harrell, and Mary J. Blige was one of their first artists. And amongst the employees of Uptown Records was Albie Shore, and Kim Porter was the receptionist, and she would sometimes be in people's music videos. And that's where he meets Kim Porter, but he ended up getting fired as an intern from Uptown Records, which he said was, Sean Combs says, was like really hard for him. Then he ended up starting Bad Boy Records. what's interesting about Uptown Records is almost all of those people are dead. And we know that Albie Shore is in that Peacock doc saying, essentially, alluding to someone tried to kill him.
Of course,
if you want to hear
Kim Porter, right?
Yeah, the beginning story of Sean Combs. That's what and Ari Mark was my guest. He was the producer. So that one, if you want to just kind of get the lay of the land, and you'll find out that Sean Combs' father was like a doing drug deals, and then he was killed. And then Janice Combs is raising Sean, but she's got a house where people are coming in and out all the time. And it is alluding to him being assaulted as a young boy. Okay. So then if you watch the Max doc, that's done by the Maxine Productions. They made Quiet on the Set. Every employee of Maxine Productions is a woman, female-led. So they made a documentary about more of the victims. So it's less about the origin story, but like, this is what happened when you went to work for Sean Combs. This is what happened when you were one of his artists. So all the documentaries are really interesting because you get a different vantage point. And I'm sure you'll continue to see more. I'm waiting for the 50 Cent doc. That's going to be the big one. I believe that's going to be on Netflix, but I don't know when that's going to air. Now, another documentary that's out today, January 29th, is on Netflix, and it's called American Manhunt O.J. Simpson, and it's 4 episodes. And at first I was like, I mean, another O.J. Simpson one? But the gentleman that I interviewed, he comes from like a newsier background. Okay. And he really goes through all the parts of the murder case and the trial. And like, one of the things I didn't know, but maybe you did, he had an agent named Mike, O.J. Simpson. And during the trial, he was talking to him all the time. And Mike, the agent, claims that he told O.J. Simpson the day before he was supposed to wear the glove in court, he said, don't take your arthritis medication, so your knuckles are all swollen. Right. And that was part of the reason that the glove didn't fit. But there's also stuff like Mark Furman is interviewed in it. Holy shit. Yeah. Wow. He's interviewed, and like, they talk about all these police officers, and they say back at his house, O.J. Simpson's house, remember he like ran in before he went out to get Alan Park, the limousine driver, picks him up. Yeah. There were clothes like in the washer that were never taken as evidence. So it's like stuff like that where you look back, it's 30 years later, and you're just like, oh my gosh. I love going back in time and looking at old things because technology develops. Right. We have a greater sense of the criminal justice system or situations. And sometimes it often leads, like the Menendez case, where you're like, okay. And by the way, I just interviewed Beth Karas. She's the one who's the host of Curious Case of Natalia Grace, but she was on Court TV for years. Yeah. And I just asked her, all these cases that you've done, like Phil Spector, Jodi Arias, Casey Anthony, is there any case where you look back years later and you go, I think about that differently? And she said the Menendez case. Well, the Curious Case. So I don't know how. So ID Channel must be part of. It's part of Max. Okay. Well, I don't have any connection there. You know what I mean? My connection is like TLC. I've got some Bravo. Oh, I'll hook you up. I know, but listen. So from the ID Channel, I'm getting all of the pre-screeners and stuff. Yeah. You got to watch them. And they're the press, so good. But why am I getting the press? I don't know why. That's what I'm saying is I'm not on their list. So, but I started getting all this ID stuff. That's why. And I was like, okay, great. So I got all that pre-stuff for Curious Case of Natalia Grace. And then now they've done BAM. They've done. And let me tell you, they're good. So you got to watch it. Episode 2 is going to blow your hair back. So there's BAM, and then there's the BAM Majera, and then what was the second one? There are like 8 of them. But the second one is, okay, here's it in a nutshell. And everyone listening, you guys, this is so up your alley. I'm going to explode. You know, when I get excited about something. I know. Yeah. Okay. Curious Case of is basically a series where it's got these cases, but they've got a bizarre, interesting twist to it. So in this case, there's a woman named Mary Louise Day. She's 13 years old. She grows up in this family with a mother named Charlotte, who marries a bunch of men and gets divorced because she always cheats on them and gets pregnant with the person she's sleeping with's baby. Okay. So she was a neglectful parent. She's got Mary at the top. Then she has Kathy and Sherry. And at one point, Kathy and Sherry go to foster care. And then Kathy comes back, but Sherry is ultimately adopted by one of the foster families.
That's so heartbreaking.
So Sherry circles back to the family a little bit later because Charlotte kind of still keeps in touch with all the families that she's sort of adopted the children out to. And I don't know, Sherry's probably like 12. She's 12 years old when she is reconnected with them. The family basically was essentially on the West Coast and then at some point gets to New York. That's when she sees them. And they're like, where's Mary? Well, on July 15th, 1981, or around then.
What is with your brain? How do you know that exact date?
Because it's my half sister's birthday.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So, but I would already know it because I'm just a dork. Okay. So around that day, Charlotte, the mother, one of the stepfathers, William Howell, Mary, the sister, and Kathy, who's now come back to the house, who was in foster care, has come back. They go out to dinner. Charlotte, William, Kathy, and just the three of them. They go to dinner. And they come home and the dog is really sick. It's the stepfather's dog. And he accuses Mary, who's 13, of getting him sick on purpose, like poisoning him, which of course you're like, why? Why would they do that? Stupid. So he was like beating her up. And he had a history of like kind of beating her up. But at one time she was kind of put into someone else's custody and then returned to the family. Well, the one sister, Kathy, said she saw blood in the corner of her mouth, but they're like, she goes to bed. Next day, Mary's gone. Mother and stepfather go, oh, she ran away. Just like she was on drugs and a prostitute and she ran away. She's 13.
She's 13. Okay.
Stepfather goes, but by the way, don't go into the backyard into that one area. Just like don't play out there. And they're like, okay. All right. So she's totally disappeared off the face of the earth. So when Sherry's reunited, where's Mary? And Kathy, the sister, the sister goes, we don't talk about Mary. And Charlotte also had said, yeah, I burned all the pictures of her. Like, we just don't want any pictures because she ran away because, she was on drugs and a prostitute. Again, 13 years old. So
this story is making my stomach hurt.
She's just disappeared off the face of the earth. But they were like in Hawaii and then they get to California. So when Mary goes back to California to reunite with the family, they don't put her into school. So when she disappears, no one even knows who she is. Okay. Well, years later, a woman is pulled over in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's 3 weeks after Sherry, the sister, has given a picture of Mary to the National Center for, Exploited and Missing Children.
Missing children, yeah.
So it's 3 weeks after, all of a sudden a woman gets pulled over in Phoenix. And they're looking at the plates and then they do the identification of the passengers. Like, who are you? Well, she's got an ID. It says Mary Louise Day with Mary Louise Day's exact birth date. So they're like, case closed. We found her. She did run away, right? So the sisters are elated. They go, oh my God, our sister's back. So Sherry says, why don't you come stay with me? So Mary Louise Day, Phoenix Mary, goes and stays with her. And she's like, that's weird. She doesn't know the name of the family dog, doesn't seem to remember like major details of our childhood.
Also, does she look like her?
Yeah, she does. But she's got a thick Southern accent, which makes no sense for their family. Like, what? So Sherry and Kathy are kind of like, we don't think she's our sister. And then they're like, maybe she's got multiple personality disorder because sometimes she refers to herself as Monica. Like, what's going on? So eventually Sherry goes, you got to get out of my house. Phoenix Mary moves to another state, gets married. Okay. So the police are like, what's going on? At that time, where they were living on the military base, they were closing the military base down and they opened some old cold cases. And this woman, Judy, is like, I got to find out what happened with this story. She goes to interview Mary Louise Day. And Mary Louise Day, when you ask her birthday, she writes, some date in 1966. But Mary Louise Day was born in 1968. So like, that's kind of weird. But Mary says, after I ran away, I stayed with this family, the Kimmel family, and you can interview them and talk to them. So she interviews the Kimmel family, and the Kimmel family goes, oh, we have a picture. We have a picture of the year that she was with us, because she was with us for a year and then she ran away. Well, there is a picture, and it does look just like Mary Louise Day. So they do a DNA test with Charlotte, the mother, and Phoenix Mary, and she is a match as a child. But the question is, since Charlotte was kind of like a philanderer,
yeah,
is it possible she had a baby before Mary Louise Day?
Yeah.
put her into foster care, starts getting investigated, flips out, goes to that child and goes, hey, do us a solid and just pretend you're the other daughter that disappeared.
What's the answer at the end of this story? What happened? What's the end?
No, you're gonna watch it. What are you talking about?
Oh my God, Kate.
Yeah, you're gonna watch it. So, by the way, Friday's episode, I interviewed Beth Karas and we talk about that banana story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, that's another thing. Like when I got the ID stuff at the end, it says Beth Karas available for interviews. Like, click here.
Why are you not responding to this shit?
I am.
Okay, well, it's Mary Payne. I want Beth next week or what? Yes, she's great. By the way, what a ride! Like she is totally a pink shade person. She is funny and cool and irreverent. Like she's so
Beth Karas.
Like everyone listening to the show, Beth Karas, she's your peeps.
I loved her on the Natalia Grace stuff. I haven't even watched the last 2 of that, but I know it's going to blow my mind. But back to this, because you guys
have Chris DeRosa come on and talk about it because he gets so fired up about it.
All right, y'all, when it's freezing outside, I am an indoor human. I am an indoorsy gal. And this time of year, every cat is an indoor cat. If there's one thing that can really stink up being stuck inside, it's the litter box. Don't let that nasty smell ruin your winter wonderland. Switch to Pretty Litter. Pretty Litter's non-clumping formula traps odor and moisture. It's ultra absorbent, it's lightweight, low dust, and 1 6-pound bag works for up to a month. And Pretty Litter changes color to indicate early signs of potential illnesses in your cat, like a UTI or a kidney issue. And since Pretty Litter ships free, you're never going to run out. And then you don't have those huge kitty litter bags taking up space. So y'all know my daughter has a pet sitting business and she loves Pretty Litter. She was very excited when Pretty Litter showed up at our house. She says her clients really love how Pretty Litter's health monitor gives them peace of mind. Indoor cats and humans agree. Pretty Litter helps your house smell fresh and clean. Go to prettylitter.com/pinkshade to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/pinkshade to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/pinkshade. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. You guys, when it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've got a problem. I never know who's going to be home for dinner, who just needs a snack, who needs a full meal, a lunch. I never know exactly what to shop for. But thank goodness my problem has been solved thanks to Hungry Root. It's the easiest way to eat healthy and get everyone's needs met. Shopping, planning, and cooking food can really be simple and stress-free. Just tell Hungry Root about your goals and preferences. You know, they give you a survey. I love a survey. And they fill your cart with personalized recommendations that get smarter as they learn more about what you liked or didn't like. This week, we got a bunch of amazing food. We got some delicious chocolate chip muffins and yogurt for breakfast, some Himalayan sea salt popcorn. Oh, so good. And our favorite was this crispy chicken and broccoli teriyaki rice balls. You guys, they were great. The meals are quick and easy to put together, and I love the healthy snacks on hand when people are running in and out. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungry Root's food. Next week, our schedule is going to change, and it's very easy. You just go to the Hungry Root website and switch what your needs are every week. It's just really great, guys. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/pinkshade and use code PINKSHADE. That's hungryroot.com/pinkshade, code PINKSHADE, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/pinkshade, code PINKSHADE.
Got it.
Okay, so listen. By the way, this is how Kate and I talk 4 times a week, and it goes, literally, I've not covered one thing we're supposed to talk about. But listen, so, curious case. The reason I brought it up is because Chris is coming on. But I'm having him come on to talk about the curious case of the cat cult.
Oh no, Beth said that's a good one. She said that's a good one. Yeah.
Now I don't know anything about it. I just read the thing they sent me. Yeah. And because I wanted to do Natalia Grace, but I was going to be out of town or whatever. So I sent it to Chris and I said, here's the descriptions of the other ones. Do you want to cover the cat cult? He goes, I don't know what it is, but I'm in.
Oh,
and
I
said,
sure.
Yeah. Yes. I said, yeah, it's some sort of cats. They're talking to people.
He goes, cold. I don't care. Whatever.
And he goes, yeah, great. So he's going to come on and do the curious case of the cat cult. That's sometime in February.
But ask him about Natalia Grace because he goes insane about it.
because you guys, Chris and Dominic have a podcast called Fixing Famous People. I'm dying for them to have me back on. They've only had me once.
I'm dying to go back on too. It's so fun.
It's so fun. It was a groundbreaking episode because I guessed Todd Chrisley's name.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, let me think about it because he's Southern. And of course I have the answer. And I thought the two of them were going to fall off their chair and slap each other in the face. They could not even believe it.
That was brilliant. That was a really good episode. I love that one.
So anytime anything happens with Todd or Savannah, Chris or anything, I always like screenshot it and send it to Chris. Yeah. And he was like, oh my God. He goes, they're unfixable. We can't fix them.
What do you think about Savannah dating the guy whose wife tried to kill him?
Oh yeah.
I really worry about Savannah a lot because I
think that's great though, because it's like ready-made family. He's got kids, right?
Yeah.
His wife's in jail. She can't bother them. I mean, she is a murderer, but she can't bother them. And I think that's great. Good for her.
I know, but I worry about her because she's so she was on TV so young and she had to take the responsibility on of her siblings. And yeah,
she's very, in my opinion, very radicalized on one side of the political spectrum. And that worries me too, because she thinks that and I think like some people do that. They think if I radicalize myself on one side or the other of the political spectrum, that particular person in power on either side, I'm not saying anything, either side, that person is going to get my dad out of jail.
But by the way,
and they're not.
I don't know. You might.
Joe Exotic is still in jail, guys. Okay, that's another one.
Yeah, but Savannah talks at political events, so I don't know. She spoke at the convention,
right?
Maybe we're all fools because he might actually help her out.
Well, didn't help out Teresa. She went right to jail.
Yeah, but I think Savannah Chrisley's high. Teresa's not being asked to speak at a convention.
Well, no, that would be rough. That would be rough.
I listen, irrespective of politics, I feel badly because she was on a television show when she was a young girl. Yeah. And Todd Chrisley seems like a kind of father who controlled her life, right?
Yeah, totally.
When has she had a moment just of her own? I feel like the interview to get is for her with her in 5 to 10 years.
I was going to say 10 years from now when she is settled into a life doing what maybe she wants to do.
She wants to do. Yeah.
A different situation. Yeah. All right. So we're 30 minutes in and I haven't talked about anything I want to. That's fine. That's how it goes. So the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively situation, we don't have to go over it because
I'll tell you my hot take.
But here's the thing. There are people out there. There's the bloggers, the podcasters, the people, and it's just down with Justin Baldoni. Now it's down with Blake Lively. And I think that you said something pretty smart. You always say things pretty smart, but this was particularly pretty smart. When this kind of first happened and you said, let's see where this is in a month or two, because it's evolving and you hate to slam this person because it seems like there's so many counters. We don't know the whole story. And probably now we still don't know the whole story.
No, we still don't.
So what are your thoughts?
I think this actually has more to do with her husband. I feel like there's some marriage issue that was percolating. I think
that's what Heather thinks. Heather thinks it all has to do with Ryan Reynolds.
I kind of do, because I feel like for the last few years, she's sort of been isolated in New York, and then you had COVID. And I feel like marriages between two people in Hollywood are very complicated, and it's all about, it's the power dynamic is very, very layered.
I think the scheduling has to be such a nightmare.
And it was so she's at home with these 4 kids, and she, you've got to strike the iron while you're hot, where you're an actress. And
right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been reading blind items from Lainey Gossip since.
What's Lainey Gossip?
Lainey Gossip is a really funny woman who lives in Canada who, she's really great at fashion and celebrity stuff, but she had a blog years and years ago, but she would always do these blind items, which were clearly about Blake Lively, about how she would set up paparazzi shots and very maniacal about her image. And so I think when you have someone like that who was raised in the business as she was, and that clock ticking in Hollywood, and then she marries Ryan Reynolds, who people are kind of coming forward and saying he's almost like a Tom Cruise 2.0 in terms of like control.
What that is shocking to me, and it's
Not to me.
because I buy into everything that I see. So I mean,
Okay.
generally, so I'm like, okay, now listen, I've never thought they're like some sort of power couple, the most perfect people, because nobody is. You and I
Yeah.
are married and have kids, and nothing. I don't care if you have a chef, a personal trainer, an assistant, a
Mm-hmm.
housekeeper, a nanny. You've got an entire staff to run your life
Yeah.
and make sure your kitchen island doesn't look like mine does right now, like just a fucking disaster. You can have people to run that for you, but at the end of the day, this is the person you're getting in the bed with and having like, hey, did you remember like when David and I get in the bed at night and it's like, did you remember so and so's got this appointment, or did you call that?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, that's the person you have to coordinate with and talk to and parent with and make
Yep.
decisions with. So everything can't be perfect no matter how much money you have.
For sure. So I think what happened was I think Candace Owens did have a point, because I saw a clip that she made. I don't know why she's talking about this, because
I
I
don't know
thought
either.
she
Isn't she
covers
supposed
like
to be
politics.
politics? Yeah.
But I don't know how it came up on my feed, but she was saying the timeline with Ryan and the SAG after strikes, like he definitely was working on Deadpool, but then he was home a lot. And I do think when you have time at home and then you're asking your wife questions and you're like, what's your project? And he probably is that personality. He was like, okay, what's the next thing I can dig into and fixate on?
Mm.
I think he was like, well, let me look at what this movie is, because she was like, she had some sort of not executive producer, but producer credit. And I think he got a little too involved. And we know that she didn't read the book. So she
No.
didn't even know what the movie's about. And I think he starts picking away at stuff. Maybe he saw some sort of, conversation, whether it be via email or text, and it raised his alarm bells. And then he
But I
started
mean, the two of
to
them met. The two of them met when he was married to Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, but like, people are surprised the sun rises every day. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, okay. Like, what do you think was going to happen with your own wife? All right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's probably why, if he did get possessive
Mhm.
like that, that's why. Because he's like, well, she did it to him, she'll do it to me. I mean, duh.
Which is, by the way, right. She will. So
Yeah.
I think then he went into freak out mode. And I think in order to save herself and possibly her marriage and maybe her career, she came up with this cockamamie suggestion that it had been something unsavory. And I
But
think
why
that
bring it up at
he took it too
all?
far.
Why? I mean, who fired the first shot here?
I think when you have that much power as Ryan Reynolds did at that
Mhm.
time, he's like, I'm going to take this douchebag down. He's like, I got a lot of power. And you know what? I'm going to get you, your agents to fire you.
Mhm.
And you're not going to mess with good old Ryan here.
Mhm.
And I think he was, he must not have listened to counsel. The fact that he filed that complaint, or they filed the complaint the Friday before Christmas, was a huge, strange question for me. Like, in terms of PR, that is like the absolute worst time of the year
If
to
that's
do
what
it.
if that's what you're doing, then
It was
that's like,
stupid.
yeah.
My assumption at the time was that maybe he didn't think he had enough for a lawsuit, so just filing a complaint, and then if it was done before Christmas, he makes the point, but it's not enough for people to start digging because all the reporters are on vacation.
Mhm. Mhm.
But what
Right,
he
'cause
didn't
nobody's
take
paying
into
attention.
account, because they never do, is social media, because they encircle themselves with teams of PR people who are 10 years outdated to media. And, listen, we know that with what we do. So you have social media and you get enough accounts that start digging into something and you can't control it. And I think that that's what he didn't expect for. So I think that there's probably something going on in their marriage. She probably was like, "Oh my God." I have to say, like, again, I don't know all the details because I'm not privy to all the legal documents that have been already put out, let alone will
Yeah.
be put out.
Right.
But from what I see as a normal person with like 3 brain cells, is that Justin Baldoni seems to be trying to placate someone who is involved in his project and has a lot of connection to power. And he's like, I just want to get this project made so I can use it as a vehicle to do other things.
Uh-huh.
And she is extremely flirtatious. And it could be because that's her personality, but it could also be like, I've been at home with all my kids. I haven't been working. I really have some sort of identity thing where I really want to be like a successful actress, and I'm 37, and I want to feel like I'm still able to get these roles. Like, these are not things that normal people like you and I think of, but these are things that people think about in Hollywood. And I promise you, every day, because I used to live in LA, and I've known people that are actors, and actresses are told every 3 seconds they're fat, they don't have good enough tits, they're not sexy. It's all about like, it's kind of like a crass way, but it's not my term, but it's what they hear is like, are you fuckable?
Right.
It is like it can make people real crazy. The whole vortex. Listen, I feel like I get bananas crazy, and I'm a podcast host. Like, I get told in DMs I should get facelifts and stuff. Like, it can make you a little bit loopy, but I'm not on in a movie in high def. She's a mother of 4 children and then supposed to bounce back and be in a movie. And I think like a lot of these showmances happen because people are isolated on sets. They're away from their husbands. They're having this moment of like, what is my identity? And they get like way too into the dialogue. I mean, she looks real flirtatious in some of that stuff. And I mean, does he? I feel like he's like, listen, based on my intuition and looking through the screen, which is based on nothing, that he looks to me like somebody who's like, I got to do whatever I got to do to make this project made, because then I can get 3 more projects after it.
Right.
Anyway, that's my take.
Okay. I agree with all of it. And again, next week it'll be something else, and I'll completely disagree with everything.
Totally.
We may. As the wind blows. Are you watching The Traitors?
I watched the first 2 episodes, but I gotta catch up. But
catch up, girl.
There are a lot of people that I really like Boston Rob, I think is great. I think, based on what Trishelle told me, is that the people who are on Survivor and Big Brother, and the challenge people are really good at this, because you have to have the ability to sit at the round table for a long period of time and get in dumb fights and stand up for yourself. But you also have to have the wiring to figure out the puzzles and do the physical challenges. And I feel like those shows kind of hit all the marks. That's why Housewives are terrible.
Yeah. Well, I do like the idea of a Traitors that's only Housewives. I think that's a fantastic idea, that they should just do, like, instead of whatever the arc is here, whatever, it's like 12 episodes, they should do like a 8-episode mini Traitor.
I don't know if they should do that, actually, because I think it would be quite boring and very, very expensive. You know what Chris thinks? It would be
incredible, and I completely disagree with you. I think it would be great if it would have a huge audience at the end.
What if you did Traitors villains, and it was all people that typically are villains? Like Chris said, Michael Barnett from Natalia Grace, the first adoptive father, should absolutely be on. And I went, yeah, you're right. He should be on.
No, he's scary.
But he would be great on Traitors.
He's scary because he's unhinged. So we don't need that. We need like scary, like I don't know, like Monica Garcia scary, not like unhinged. I said my daughter tried to kill me when she didn't scary.
I would do villains, traitors, but I would pull from all kinds of places. Politicians.
Oh, geez.
I would do like canceled news reporters.
George Santos on there. Brian Williams.
I mean, like all villainish people, and to see like who's the most ruthless.
I'm dying. That would be terrible. Are you into Yellow Jackets? Because that's coming back.
Never watched it.
Kate.
Never. I know.
Kate, it's so good.
But it's so good. It based on like one of my obsessions, which is the plane crash in
where they ate
the mountains.
Each other. Yeah.
Yes, that's one of my great obsessions in my life.
No, it's not. I mean, yes, and the fact that there is a plane crash and maybe people eat each other. Yes.
Okay.
But it's not like it. And the same premise is where somebody dies naturally and they haven't had food in X amount of days. And yes, all of that does happen. It's not a spoiler, but it is a little bit of, in saying this is going to make you not want to watch it, but it's a little bit of a Stranger Things in it. And then you're like, what is this place and how come they can't get out of it? Right. But what's great about it is it comes from real time, like right now in the 2020s. And then it flashes back to when they were there, when their soccer team had the plane crash, the girls' soccer team had the plane crash, and what happened. So it is, they flash back in time. So you've got them talking in real time and then thinking back to what happened. So you know who's alive, right? Because you're watching it in real time. And then sometimes you're like, well, we haven't seen so-and-so, that they must die. She must get eaten. And then later in like the second season, you're like, no, there she is. She's alive. And now she runs a cult. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and then you're like, okay, so when they were teenagers,
ooh, I like the cult aspect.
Yeah. Like, so now that when they were teenagers, now you're seeing a little bit this girl through a different eye, which was when she's trying to get them to do something, it's because it's her early cult leader tendencies.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
And the music is incredible. The music.
Could I watch that with my husband? Would he be into that?
He might be, because is he closer to my age than your age?
No, we're like a year apart, but he thinks that scripted TV is like where it's at, but he loves like anything Apple TV plus. Like, I can't really find that much to watch with him. We did watch Say Nothing on Hulu, and we enjoyed that together, but otherwise it's very hard to watch anything together.
Well, we're in the same boat like that.
Yeah.
But, I did have my husband watch The Bear, and I had my husband we watched Slow Horses, which was Apple TV.
Dan loved it. Loved it. He didn't like The Bear, but he liked Slow Horses. I find my kids are providing that for me more. Like Jack and I watched some of the screener of the new season of Love is Blind, which, have you started watching it?
I've got to watch it. I got to start watching the screeners this week because, we drop all the episodes, all 6 at the same time. And so we're starting to record for that next week, but I haven't started it yet because a lot of times I don't like to spoiler myself too early.
Okay. All I will tell you is this. I feel like I believe in love again. And I'll tell you why.
Oh, good. Okay.
Everybody in Minneapolis, they seem like wonderful people.
Yeah, Midwest.
And the people that they cast, they just seem so earnest. And they're kind, and they're
unlike
sweet,
the DC people, which a bunch of shitheads. Our DC people
they were
not.
Shithead.
They weren't the best of the best.
They were not. But I got to tell you, Minneapolis. I was like, we need to pick a president for Minneapolis because these cast.
We tried to pick a vice president for Minnesota.
Real
nice. Didn't work.
You need somebody from Minneapolis who had been like a general in the military and also played sports in college. There are a lot of Naval Academy female grads who would be great presidents.
So, okay. So Love is Blind, Minneapolis. Ingrid did tell me yesterday. So Ingrid is from Minnesota. And her daughter,
she's going to love it.
And
her
daughter's at the U. Her daughter's at the U.
That's so fun.
She and her husband, Ingrid and her husband, both went to Minnesota. And anyway, her daughter's currently at Minnesota and has some inside spoiler tea. I said, don't tell me yet. Let me watch the first 6 episodes and then you can tell me. I said, but don't tell me yet because I don't want to go into it knowing the tea. I have to take notes as I see it,
I hope it's not like somebody is actually like a serial killer because.
No, I think it's probably somebody's together and they've seen them around or something.
Oh,
if I had to guess.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Oh, you know what it makes you feel like? It makes you feel like you're back in college. And your friend down the hall knocked on the door and she came in and she's like, I met somebody, and you're like, tell me everything.
Yeah.
It feels like that. That's why I like it. Yeah.
Before we were jaded, we'd be like, well, I'm for sure he's fucking other girls. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Totally. But that comes on the heels of like me being in the car last week with 4 sophomores in high school and then them telling me all about like the boys that are texting them on what they're saying and like who they have crushes on. So I feel like I'm having a moment where I'm just enjoying the saccharine, sweet love stories that, those of us who are so jaded don't really appreciate it.
You guys, when it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've got a problem. I never know who's going to be home for dinner, who just needs a snack, who needs a full meal, a lunch. I never know exactly what to shop for. But thank goodness my problem has been solved. Thanks to Hungry Root is the easiest way to eat healthy and get everyone's needs met. Shopping, planning, and cooking food can really be simple and stress-free. Just tell Hungry Root about your goals and preferences. They give you a survey. I love a survey. And they fill your cart with personalized recommendations that get smarter smarter as they learn more about what you liked or didn't like. This week, we got a bunch of amazing food. We got some delicious chocolate chip muffins and yogurt for breakfast, some Himalayan sea salt popcorn, oh, so good. And our favorite was this crispy chicken and broccoli teriyaki rice balls. You guys, they were great. The meals are quick and easy to put together, and I love the healthy snacks on hand when people are running in and out. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungry Roots food. Next week, our schedule is going to change, and it's very easy. You just go to the Hungry Root website and switch what your needs are every week. It's just really great, guys. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/pinkshade and use code pinkshade. That's hungryroot.com/pinkshade, code pinkshade, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/pinkshade, code pinkshade.
More.
Okay, Ingrid sent me yesterday on New York Magazine audio, and it was a one-episode podcast about the mother that bullied her own daughter online. Like,
wow. That's heavy.
Excuse me. And it is crazy. I'll send it to you. You can listen to it for free, or I'll subscribe to New York Magazine, so maybe that's why I can listen to it, but it's crazy. It's crazy. White Lotus. Do you watch that?
Love that. Is one show that Dan and I will watch. We think that is like one of the greatest shows. And the only caveat is that the scenery looks a little bit like dark. Like a lot of it is filmed at night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love a resort television show with lots of light and ocean and beaches.
Yeah. Well, like Slow Horses was so dark. The Dave and I come like, how do we adjust the brightness on the TV? We can't see anything.
I don't like that. Yeah,
we love Parker Posey.
Posey is
a Mississippi queen. What?
Iconic. Yeah.
Laurel, Mississippi girl.
Isn't she from Laurel, Mississippi?
I just said Laurel, Mississippi.
Wow. So does Landon know her?
No, he doesn't. He's obsessed with her, though.
He should be.
He saw her one time and like screamed out, Parker Posey! Like he didn't know how to act.
No,
and he said he knows that if he sees her again, he's going to have a do-over.
I would love for him to interview her on his podcast.
He would. It would be too much for his brain to handle. He would.
You remember like that Chris Farley sketch where he interviewed like Paul McCartney, like that.
He would be like, so the Beatles, like that was really something, huh?
Right.
That would be Landon. That's hilarious. All right, back to this quickly. Because we're as per usual, just way off topic. I have a question about Salt Lake. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, like I do, that yes, all of Whitney's shit came from Alibaba?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, the picture is just like too on the point, but I think the language she uses, she's being very,
it's curated.
Yeah. Curated, vendors, shipments, she's kind of word salading the whole thing, but yeah, probably.
But I'm ready for somebody that works for Alibaba to come through with the receipts.
I'm sure they will. I don't know if she strikes me as somebody who probably works with like one or two or four people, and they probably set it up, and she's still kind of like in the dark about it.
And that might be on purpose.
Maybe.
Might be on purpose. The whole thing about Bronwyn's daughter, I think it's interesting because Bronwyn has kind of come out with quite a bit of receipts, in her mind that she and Lisa Barlow were pretty good friends. Where like Lisa was like, how'd it go with this? And they're like kind of going back and forth as friends do on text, like checking in on life events. Right. So Bronwyn was sort of under the impression she and Lisa Barlow were real friends, where Lisa Barlow was like, I mean, we were just like social friends. I think listen, Bronwyn didn't come across great this season. She came across as a very good housewife, though.
Yeah, for sure. But it strikes me as somebody who probably has studied this world for a little bit, which I don't really like. I'm still confused as to how, like the timeline of events and what Lisa Barlow really did, because in the end, it seemed to me that Bronwyn brought this story to the show. She said, well, we were at the airport. We were not filming. I shared with Lisa this. She said, oh my gosh, I know that family.
And then she said, and then we decided to discuss it when we were getting the pedicures. So they decided they would discuss it getting the pedicures being filmed.
Yeah. So she decided from the get-go to bring it up.
After she said she discussed it with her daughter first, which I do think is true. I don't think she's a monster that wouldn't clue in her daughter about that.
For sure.
Yeah. But it has to be super hurtful for Bronwyn to hear that Lisa was like, they thought you had a miscarriage or whatever. And she's like, no, we called when the baby was born and told them. Like, I was sitting there like, what are you talking about?
Well, this is what's confusing to me.
It's rough. It's all rough.
Dark. Well, I don't feel like I still have total transparency on the story. And fine, somebody would go, do you really need to have total transparency? I kind of do as a viewer. Because if your job is to come on the show and to reveal like all these aspects of your life, you have the freedom to keep some things private, but you like open the door a little bit. And now I'm like, okay, well, who was the birth father? What is the actual story? What was the timeline of events? And I don't know if it's so bad for Lisa to go, I do know the family, and maybe it's her wording, like she just has a bad time of like explaining this, but like, I think we have all experienced something in life where someone has a falling out with someone and you have a relationship with that person. And that other person is like, I want you to hate them the way I hate them. And you're like, I get it, but they haven't done anything to me. And I'm just trying to be an observant, empathetic outsider.
Yeah. You and I talked about this yesterday, just on the phone for no reason, talking about Dorit and PK. And and the whole, should
texting,
should PK be texting Kyle and all that. And you and I have a little bit of a different take because I put it myself in that position, right? If if Dave and I are getting divorced and it's not copacetic,
right?
I don't want any of my, let's just say, secondary friend list. I don't need them texting with him memes or anything because they weren't best friends before. If they were best friends before, they've known each other since high school. So, okay. But if you're only friends because you're couple friends, you need to be a girl's girl and stick with me. And that's sort of what Kyle came around to this week, which I was glad about. But your opinion was like, they weren't such good friends. It's okay for them to text, but I disagree.
Yeah, I didn't see a problem with it at all. Because to your point, I don't think that they're really close friends.
Yeah.
Unless the spouse is like highly abusive and controlling and made that person's life a living nightmare. If it's a somewhat amicable split,
but it's not amicable.
I actually think it's unfair for you to go, you can no longer talk to somebody if you had some sort of friendship with them. Caveat that with, I did say to you, as I did to other people I talked about, I think I'm maybe a different position because I have to reach out to people literally all day long. I have to text people, email people, call people, approach them, LinkedIn. I'm in a space where I'm constantly reaching out to people.
Yeah.
So I don't really even think about it anymore. And I do text with some dads that are parts of like couples that I know that divorced.
Yeah.
Because my kids are little and for sake of like, I have to for play dates.
Right. So but you're not sending them like,
think about it.
Yeah. But you're not sending them like personal chit chat. Right.
What would give me an example of something that would be personal?
Okay. Like I gave you the example. So but these are like my best friends, right? So if I see like, oh my God, there's this Rolling Stone article that Chris would like, I'll just send it to him. I don't like CC his wife, who's my best friend. I just know that he would like it and she could be like, I could give a shit about Bruce Springsteen. Don't send me that. Yeah. But, so yeah, but if they were getting divorced and it was contentious, I would drop everything and only be on her side, even though you've known him only 5 years less than I've known her. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I would,
I still think I would text with a husband because I just don't see like what, I guess because I feel like it's their issues.
I think the feeling is she feels like you're sharing information, and that's the issue.
Okay, if you did share, you were like, by the way, Dorit is going to go on a vacation, and she's going to go with her friend Mary, and they're going to Miami in 2 weeks. Like, that's totally inappropriate. But if it has to not to do with her, but it's just my own shit, like, oh my God, did you watch the U.S. Open this weekend?
What did you think about Kyle saying
who cares?
2 weeks ago when Kyle said 2 weeks ago when she was in the robe and she's like, "Oh," and they kind of pulled back and showed the cameras and stuff, which they're doing more and more, which I like, that Kyle said, the reason I said you can know that I'm not going to talk about things we've shared, the reason I said that on the text is because it has to do with production. And that to me meant there's some shit that went down that I will never repeat to production. I think that's what she was trying to say. But now I want to know what that is. And I want to know why it was glossed over. Why none of the women go, what did you mean by that?
I got to tell you, this is based on my own intuition and based on nothing that I know personally. This is just my take. I think I think PK went over to their house a lot and saddled up to that bar in that house and was like, I'm in a financial crisis. Right. Things are not well with work. I'm overwhelmed. We're on this show. You guys know she's not going to make money for like another couple seasons.
Yeah.
But we're burning a lot of money here.
If she makes $300,000 a year on that show, that is not enough.
Dudes will talk about that.
And it's not enough to.
And she's like, she and Mauricio were like in each other's business. So she's like, and she's involved with the show. So PK may have been like, you get it. Like, Kyle, what do I do? She says she wants a glam squad. She says she wants all these clothes. Now Kyle knows too much. Right. And also they're both sober now. I do think that that's an added element of their friendship, but I think she knows too much. And then he's been kind of relying on Mauricio and then Kyle, because she understands the world, the business. Yeah. That she feels like, hold on, Dorit, you really haven't been there for me as a friend. We are work friends. All you do is talk about yourself. You're not really there for me. So you're actually an asshole for asking me to completely cut off PK, who, by the way, really needs someone more than ever because this guy's about to lose his marbles. When a man is like freaking out about finances, like I've seen situations where like I'm worried about them in their mental health because the overwhelming financial things having to do with a family. And for the sake of their kids, I think Kyle's like, he needs somebody to talk to. I don't know. That's my take. I've known couples where the husband lost his job and they're borrowing money from people on the side and the wife is still posting on ski strips. So I've seen it happen before. Yeah. And it's totally complicated. And I think that both spouses need an outlet for someone to vent. And I would rather
he should vent to Mauricio, not to Kyle.
But I think he did, but she lives with the guy. She knows too much.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying now, I think it's like, okay, it's not that I'll never speak to him. If I see him at a party, I'm not going to run the other direction. I won't text
a better friend than she is. I think she's not really that good friends with her. I think PK's a better friend.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree. And in the words of Sean Robinson, we're not going to solve it.
Do you really think that Dorit is and Kyle have ever been really good friends?
I think, yeah, I do. I think they've been good friends.
I don't think they've ever good friends.
Okay, listen.
I think Kyle's good friends are the Faye Resnicks.
That
passed away. I think she's somebody who keeps friends from childhood.
Yes,
like they are her real friends.
I
don't
agree.
think Dorit was ever a good, close friend of hers.
I agree that Kyle has real close friends that are real close friends. Like I think Teddy is her real close friend. And she's sticking with her, even though most people hate Teddy. I've never hated Teddy like other people do. I could give a shit about Teddy, but it's like even Garcelle last night I watched What Happened Live. I was like, well, you know how I feel about Teddy. I was like, God, everybody hates her. It's got to be rough.
I don't really get why, but I didn't work on the show, so who knows?
Exactly. I think she's just like such a thirst bucket, but it's like she admits it. Anybody that's a thirst bucket, and you and I have talked about Spencer as well. Anybody that's like a thirst bucket and just admits it, I'm a thirst bucket.
I have no problem with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the RHONY Part 1 reunion. So how did you feel about the whole thing about Jessel's plastic surgery? I think that, first of all, I've studied it. I've studied extensively, and I was like, it is her teeth. She's had some CO2 peels and smoothed her skin out or gotten a better makeup artist, but it's the teeth. And the fact that she would not say it, and they're all like, to me, it was like, I don't. First of all, I don't. I know you're going to say Andy shouldn't be asking her about that.
He should not. I don't like that question. It's belittling. I don't like it.
Well, you had a glow up, I think, is also a little insulting because it's like you were ugly last season, but you look great now. I think saying you've had a glow up is kind of rude for a man to say to a woman. But I think a different way you could word it is, hey, much has been said about how amazing your looks are and stuff this season. Like, do you want to tell us, like, what are your secrets? Like, that's a different way to say it rather than
better way. Yeah.
You had a glow up. Tell me what you did.
List for us all the treatments that you have done, any plastic surgeries.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I think, she said, oh, I started a series of CO2 laser things. I didn't put it on Instagram like Tamra did, but it's resurfaced my skin, like that kind of thing. And then she was like, she was saying to Brynn, she's like, what are you talking about? I did not run out and not pay. Like, and he says, so you had like paid posts.
Well, why? Because I hear so many housewives. I had lunch with a housewife once and I was so creeped out because I said, I just love this housewife. She seems so fun. And she was like, you know what I don't like? She doesn't pay her bills. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, she doesn't pay her like makeup team. I'm like, why do you know who she's paying? And more so, why are you bringing it up to me? I don't like that. Like all those housewives, they trash talk each other by talking about who doesn't pay bills. It's like, none of you guys are, Candy Spelling here.
Right.
You're getting a lot of free stuff and shame on you for talking about somebody else's finances. I don't like that.
Well, I mean, if they're getting it for free because they're posting about it, good for them. Somebody give me something for free. I'll post about it in a fucking minute.
Give it to me. Great.
Give it to me. I want to come to OC and have your friend Jenny Armstrong work on my face. I'll post. Listen, she doesn't need my post because she's way bigger than me. But anytime anybody wants to give me anything, just give it to me. I'll post it. I mean, within reason. Okay, so Jessel's teeth. Her teeth is what switched her face. So I went back and went way down in her Instagram last night to find pictures of her old teeth. Her old teeth are completely fine teeth. They weren't jacked up. They weren't crooked. They weren't yellow. I think what I figured out with her teeth is they're just like bigger. And so that sort of stretched out her mouth a little bit. So maybe it changed the shape of her face a little bit with her, that's all it is. That is all it is. And I noticed it episode 1, she got new teeth. She didn't get them on the bottom, just on the top. And I was like, okay, good for her. But it's not so much of like, she got a brand new face. She literally just got new teeth. And so I didn't like the way Andy went about it. I think there's a better way to go about it. And to tell her beforehand, hey, I'm going to mention this. So like, if you want to, like a lot of these houses, like Margaret Joseph's be like, oh yeah, Dr. So-and-so, he did it. It's amazing.
I know. I love it when she does that.
That's what she should have done.
And then, by the way, people just move on from that. They're like, oh, okay.
Oh, good for her. She shouted out the doctor like she should because she got it for free.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think about when they went to the conversation had by the pool where Brynn was like, yeah, they hadn't been talking to me. So I was like thrilled that Sai and Aaron were talking to me. And yeah, you just happened to be the collateral damage, Jessel, that we were talking about you. And Jessel's like, okay, on one hand, I can get that. But then you started saying that I said the love of my life was not my husband. And can you imagine? I had to sit on my couch and watch that with my husband.
Yeah, that's awful.
It was terrible. And by the way, she said that wasn't even, because everything with Brynn is a little bit of a twist on what was actually said. And she goes, that's
diabolical.
She's like, that's not even what I actually said. We talked about what was like the best, one night stand or the best fling that you ever had before you were married or whatever. And she goes, oh, there was this one guy who I had this fling with, but it was never going to work because he wasn't Indian. So whatever. That's what she said. Everybody's got somebody like that. But it was terrible.
Who was she talking to her? And she said, remember when Jessel said, I don't remember who she was talking to, but that person should have gone, wait, that's not exactly how it went. They didn't.
It was Sai and Aaron.
Sai and Aaron should have said, that's not what happened.
But also in this conversation.
They should have protected Jessel.
And Brynn is being horrible and making things up. All that can agree. But in that conversation about the pool, they're not bringing up that Aaron goes, yeah, I don't even see her and Pavitt. Like, you can't imagine them like having sex. Like, they're just like in their Restoration Hardware house. Do you remember they had the tree with the price tag on it and all that kind of stuff? So yeah, the conversation about the pool was terrible, but Aaron's like, I have fully apologized for it. I shouldn't have got wrapped up in that. And that's it. That's the
Yeah.
answer. Aaron's like, I got wrapped up in that conversation. I said stuff I shouldn't have said. I have apologized for it. But Bryn is like, well, nah, nah, I was so happy they were talking to me. So like, yeah, we threw you under the bus. But for Jessel to be like, Jenna Lyons at the end of the episode just being like, just apologize. That's it. It's an action. Say you're sorry and be done. And Brent, because Bryn, loves Jenna so much. And Jenna's like, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Just say you're sorry. And Bryn keeps trying to like, but she's like, no, it's so easy. Just say you're sorry.
Yeah.
And Bryn, by the way, on this reunion, she's so slumped down that it's like, if you are like a Scarlett O'Hara moment, like if you're so owning it, just stand up straight with it. And then did you see like the cut of the behind the scenes when we're talking about the Balenciaga whatever dress, and was $1,000. And Andy goes, oh, $1,000. Okay, good. And Bryn goes, my dress was $7,000 and I paid for it. Andy's like, okay, good for you. I mean, like,
okay, a couple things I feel. Number one, she was a terrible casting decision.
Bryn?
Yeah, I mean, she's not married. She doesn't have kids. The show is called Real Housewives. I'm sorry, but like,
a lot of them aren't. Neither is Uba. Neither is Jenna.
Yeah, by the way, Uba, I would say the same thing. Jenna has a son.
Yeah, she does, but she's also not married. But I mean,
but she has a son. Like I'm saying, it's a double whammy. Bryn is not married. She doesn't have kids. She should be on a different show. That's a different show. She should have been on a show about like PR people, marketing people in the city. The Real Housewives, that's a different show.
Well, I'm looking at all the housewives that I have here on my list, and I'm like, okay, well, like Jennifer Tilly, not married, doesn't have a kid, but she's a friend of, and I'm like, all right.
She's a friend of, and she's also really good friends with a couple of the other women. And it seemed like that show when they cast, they took women who don't really even have like real friend, like deep-seated, like years and years of history of friendships.
You at least need a couple. You at least need a couple that know each other.
So there's not a real common thread line on anything. And also, the most important part of the casting problem, she doesn't seem to have a job. And I know through people who have worked on that show that was a question they always wondered while filming it. Like, well, you guys don't show my job. Okay, great. Let's go with you to meet a client with, and then there was no follow through. You're not married. You don't have any children. We don't know what your job is. You also don't like to film that much. You show up just for group things. You don't really want the shots of like just your own personal life. Maybe because there's just not enough there or something you're hiding. There doesn't seem to be a lot of transparency.
She's writing a book.
About what?
She has had, it seems, an interesting life. But the whole job thing.
Maybe that's a different show then. She should have been on a different show.
I can see what you're saying, because now I'm looking at the list of all the houses. I was like, this a lot, like right now in Beverly Hills, everybody's single, but they do like have kids and have had, and by the way, this is not to say like having kids is, but for this particular franchise of shows, these women have been married, are married, are partnered, have had kids, do want kids.
If you haven't had kids, that's totally fine. If you have had a long-standing friendship, there's like
with
years and years of history of your friendship, your lives have intersected, then it works. But we took a show where it's a brand new show. They cast all these different people. Yeah. They didn't seem to have a long history and, like common thread intersection. She's not married. She doesn't have children. And we have no idea what she does for a living 2 seasons in. This was not a good casting of her.
It's just like, like Ben and Ronnie say, I'm just a sexy baby. I'm just going to talk to a sexy baby. I'm going to fuck your dad. I'm like, that's funny the first season. I was like, okay.
That's not even funny the first season. That's funny for maybe 20 minutes of one episode and then we're done.
She's comic relief. But now, I mean, for her to even be like, my arm is sore from stirring the pot, like that's funny if what you're doing is not actually dark and harmful.
But one would do that when they do not want to show any aspect of their life. I don't want to show you who I'm dating, what I do for a living, who my real friendships are. I don't
They
really
do. They
want
do
you in
ask
my
her, "What's your
apartment."
job? What's your job? What's your job?"
And
They
she gets so
so
angry. But listen, you're on a reality television show.
tell
This
us
is
your
part
job.
of the deal.
Tell
You
us your
gotta
job.
be tell us your job.
Let's
I
look.
yeah,
Let's see.
bad casting.
Let's look at the New York ladies. Okay, Uba, we know her job. She's a model. I saw Uba one time in the Polo Bar in New York, sitting at a table with a bunch of people, and literally, like when you walked to the bathroom, there was like a modeling shot, a Ralph Lauren modeling shot of Uba, and there she
Yeah.
was in the
I mean,
restaurant.
there's no question she's a stunning woman.
Yeah. So we know what her job is. Erin, we know that she grew up in a real estate family. We know that they brought mezcal to the United States, which was funny
She's
this
an
week when they
interior
talked about that.
decorator too.
Yeah. Does real estate, I know.
Mhm.
Sai, we know she's an influencer. Sadly enough, that is a real job, and she does have like an actual career at that.
We see her working. We
We
see
see
her
her
with her
working.
assistants. We see her opening packages. We see the behind the scenes of,
She's got a
the
whole
video
office. Yeah.
shoots. We
Yeah.
saw it.
Jessel, we know that she's in PR or marketing. We saw like a party, and people were
And
actually
she's
like,
also
whoa.
building a business where it's bringing Indian jewelry,
Mm.
accessories, clothing to an American market.
Jenna, we obviously know she was creative director for J. Crew. We obviously know she has an eyelash line.
We also know a lot about her because she had a Max show, which I, of course, interviewed her for, where she talked about like transitioning out of J. Crew into, she has like a hybrid kind of design business where sometimes her clients will be like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, or then it might be like a socialite that needs help with her house.
Mm.
She's like a design kind of like
Yeah.
hybrid, kind of her own kind of career. All we know of Bryn is that
Wait. I'm
oh,
almost done.
sorry.
Raquel,
Raquel is like an art curator.
an art curator. So I'm just going through to see what we
Mhm.
know about these people. Raquel is an art curator, and we've met her partner, Mel, who, by the way, I'm kind of obsessed and in love with Mel myself,
Mhm.
okay. So when we're going through that, when we get to Bryn, what we know is she got a new apartment this year, and we don't know what her job is. And we know she's got this ex-boyfriend that she wants to have a baby with. She's writing a book. And she was the victim of an assault. And that's what we know about Bryn.
The sad thing is, if she had discussed that and the whole discussion of assault was done in a more gentle way,
Her just sitting and with a heart, like telling her friend, "This is what happened to me."
then I would have gone, okay, now I'm getting something from Bryn, but I never believe anything like the Gideon story. And we might have been, I don't believe any of it. I don't believe any of it. But then you're like, that's the sad part, is like the show kind of hasn't been working. But then when the discussion of the assault stuff came up and you saw each woman's reaction and you thought to yourself, they have lived lives that have had at times dark experiences. Maybe this has happened to them. Maybe this has happened to someone close to them. This is the first time I kind of see the connection between them. And we're talking about something that's substantial. And this is the beauty of a Housewives franchise, is that it gives an opportunity to talk about some of these layered issues that women face in their 30s, 40s, 50s. But it was clouded by someone who was weaponizing it. And that is what made it so sad and made you realize she's the cog in the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rough. It's dark. It's rough. But another thing that's interesting too is when they kind of all started like jabbing back and forth at each other. And Sai was like, this text from you were said like, your carbon monoxide, your carbon dioxide, whichever, you're like slow and odorless and you won't see it coming. And she goes, okay, so you're just going to base that. I had one bad day and I wrote one bad text. And Sai goes, we have pages and pages and pages and volumes of texts from you. And Bryn's trying to kind of brush that off, because I'm wondering if Bryn at night has some drinks. Listen, this happened to me. Have a few drinks and like just text. And you're like, oh my God, the next day you're looking at like, I'm mortified. I can't believe I sent that email or text that person. Like I should not have had that third glass of wine. So you wonder if Bryn like came home to her apartment like bitter over something that happened, felt wronged by these women somehow, and has sent pages of text.
We know that must happen, because after the reunion, we saw that in the reunion she sat, and that was the first time she saw the finale episode while she was sitting getting her makeup done bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Then she goes on the reunion, and then she posts that she was leaving the show and then took it down. And I suspected back then she's either fired or leaving the show, and they yelled at her, you can't be posting that
Okay,
until
I
after.
agree with you.
Yeah.
So many people are like basically sending me DMs like, you fell for it. It was a fake account, blah, blah, blah.
Nope.
I go, no, it wasn't. It was her account.
It was her account.
And she didn't get hacked for one post, just like Beyonce's mother would be like, I got hacked for one post that liked to post about Jay-Z being abusive. I got hacked for that one post. She didn't get hacked for one post, guys. She didn't get hacked.
No.
So what's interesting about that, and then Brynn, when she fires back, says, okay, you're mad over just one text. And they're like, it's not one text. It's pages and pages of you berating us. And Sai's like, but in their defense, they haven't shown it. They're just saying we have pages and pages and pages. And Brynn says, you're mad over one text. And I used the periodic table of elements. And you talked about a cartoon fish. So that's the difference between us.
I feel like Brynn, if we all were to just like put our hearts on our sleeves, there probably was some sort of thing that happened to her, because there is like she's infantile in some ways, her responses.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to, it has to have happened.
It's so much proving of, let me prove to you how smart I am. Let me just explain to you. Let me tell you that I used the periodic table of elements and you used a cartoon fish.
Like what? I think she needs some space and time to have a period of reflection and figure out if this is the best space for her.
And what do you think about the Shed Casting putting out casting?
Well, they do that every season. That's not unusual. They do that every season.
I think if they were wiping clean and starting again with this show, they wouldn't put out a casting. Do you know what I mean?
They wouldn't. They're just going to swap out maybe one or two. I'm sure, but like they do that every season, because you never know. You might come across somebody who's like dynamite.
But you might come across somebody who is legitimately happens to be friends with Aaron and Sai, or Sai and Jessel, or Jenna and Aaron, somebody that is a mutual friend of theirs that they could be like, okay, this could work because actually all three of you know each other tangentially. Like Jenna's like, this girl has been my friend for 10 years. And Aaron's like, oh my God, I've known her for 5. We've been at 20 parties together. Yeah. And that could work if the person wants to be on the show. Because I do think Jenna Lyons is super interesting. I think the thing about Cass is annoying because all we need to see her is pass by in the kitchen with a cup of coffee. We don't need her to be involved like Abe is a little involved. Sai's husband, we saw him once the whole season. Nobody's upset about it, but we have seen him.
Yeah, I also think my friend Travis once made a reference. And he said, when you act weird about something, you hang a light on it. And Jenna hangs a light on Cass,
saying she's very inappropriate and she'll get herself canceled because she'll say the wrong thing.
And the questions loom because she's so adamant about not filming. If you were easy breezy cover girl, people wouldn't. You're not hanging a light on it.
I think literally you walk through the kitchen. Hey, what's your day like today? Oh, I got to go see the girls. Oh yeah. Oh God, what's the drama? And then tell the drama just like the other spouses do.
She would get canceled. She said that?
Yeah. They showed a clip of her saying, like, is Cass going to be? She's like, no, she's too afraid of getting canceled. And what Jenna said was like, she's very
irreverent,
just irreverent, outspoken, sort of just like says things. And that's just how her personality is she's just sort of like brash, I guess. And maybe she just says things that are inappropriate that would get her canceled.
Okay, but like, why are we dating her if she acts like that? You know what I mean? Like,
well, they're like practically married. I mean,
I know, but like, can you imagine talking about someone like your spouse or your partner or whatever and saying, well, they might get canceled because they just say whatever's on their mind. It could be super offensive. I'm like, why are you with them?
Yeah. Well, maybe what would be offensive to most people is not offensive to some, or vice versa. And so but by the way,
sounds like a headache.
Abe has said some things, just you don't have to film scenes in Serendipity with your kids eating a brownie. You don't have to film whole scenes. Like, and Uba's guy's never going to be on the show either. He's some rich Connecticut guy that's like, I don't fucking need this. I'm a millionaire.
Well, then she shouldn't be on the show. That's dumb. I'm sorry.
I agree. Um, that's it,
Like,
Kate. We've
because you
talked
know
for a long
why?
time.
Open space for someone else who's gonna like show me their husband and their kids in their office and their complicated relationship with their mother or their sister and how they hate their neighbors. Like, I want to see
Agree.
like somebody who is going to show me a life well lived. Whatever that may, highs, lows, everything in between. I want to feel like I'm living vicariously through someone else's life. I've got a lens into somebody who lives in a different pocket of the world, may have a different faith or culture or religion or what whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I, there are a lot of things to watch in streaming, a ton of things to watch.
We just went over like 20 different things. Yeah.
And I just feel like there's so many interesting people in the world and I want to know about all of them. And so if you don't want to really like talk about what's going on in your life, it's probably not the opportunity for you.
I think that's a really great point. It's a really great point. We watch these shows to see, I don't know what it's like to live in Beverly Hills, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny too, like knowing you in the OC, I think every so often, you guys, I'll send Kate a picture of something in the OC and I'll go, please explain this to me. And then Kate will send me like a Google aerial image and be like, okay, here's a circle. Here's where the Balboa Beach Club is.
Yeah.
And here's where Heather actually lives. Here's.
Yeah. By the way, Balboa Bay Club, right down the street from me.
Yeah. Mm. And do you think a lot of people now just
Banana Stand, for the good people listening? I live near the Banana Stand from Arrested Development.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of people from LA, people that had beachfront, Malibu, whatever, if their homes are gone, do you think a lot of those people who really need that ocean view life are going to be headed to the OC to live?
There are a ton of people. In our elementary school alone, we have 5 new families that have already started as of like last week or the week before.
Wow.
There was one little girl who was starting in Sutton's grade, and she was supposed to start on like a Tuesday. And the teacher said, she's just not ready yet. We're just going to give her a couple of days. And you just like want to cry in your car because you just feel like how awful. There was a Variety article that said, it was like an interview with a real estate agent. And they said, I think it was one of the $1 million listing people, maybe Josh Altman or somebody. The quote was, they're all like, get me to OC.
Yeah.
Because Palisades really is similar to our community here, where it's just like local people who just wear board shorts and kind of like kick it. Like, despite what you see on Real Housewives of Orange County, like the community here is really just like a bunch of beach people. It's not like Chanel, like Hervé Leger gowns with like 6-inch heels. I do not see that. It's just nice families that like to go to the beach.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely true. They're also going to Manhattan Beach, which is where Chelsea from Netflix is like Selling Sunset, Chelsea. That's like where, when you see the show, that's where her community, and a lot of people are moving there because it's just it's a quicker drive into LA.
Yeah.
And then there are people that are moving to like North Malibu and or like Brentwood. They're moving inland to Brentwood or Santa Monica. I have a friend who lives in Brentwood, and I remember the week that the fires were going on, we were really afraid about her house too. But she said, I don't know, like maybe everyone's just going to leave LA and not come back. So I don't know. It kind of remains to be seen. I don't know what they're going to do in Palisades, but it seems like the people that came from there that I know, because I do know a couple of people that lost their homes, they're kind of saying we want to go back.
Yeah.
They do.
The Palisades community kind of specifically seems very insular, very like, when you think of somebody like Spencer, who grew up in the Palisades and lives in the Palisades now, and his parents live in the Palisades, you think of somebody like that, as annoying as he could be or great as he could be, whatever. It is the way he has sort of described it is like, this is where I grew up and this is where I live and this is where my parents live, just like anybody else feels about their area. It just happens to be like
shop my dad used to take me to, and like all their memories are so.
This is my high school, and now it's gone. And I wanted my kids to go to that same high school,
Or like he probably like runs into people all the time that he grew up with.
Yeah, just like me when I go back to my hometown. Yeah,
I'm so grateful that the fires have kind of shown me that this community that I live in that is often trashed because of Real Housewives of Orange County, like it's vapid, it's like all that.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, the people that live here really rose up to just like wrap their arms around people in LA and all of the different communities, including Altadena. And, you know, people who live in different parts of the country may go, I don't really relate to people who live in LA, but most of the people that you're seeing these stories, they're not people who had homes that were $15 million. They're people who work, a lot of them in the entertainment industry, and they're in craft services, and they are casting agents, and they are not wealthy. And maybe their families have lived there for 3 generations, and they are currently living in motels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll tell you, and I said this, I can't remember on an episode, and I don't know which one. Maybe it was when I was talking to Kimberly, but there's a comedian, it's Chris Garcia Comedy is his Instagram. I followed him because of a podcast he had where he talked about his father, and his father like had come over from Cuba, and then his dad had dementia, and it's sort of a podcast about that, about his father kind of going into dementia and when his father eventually passed away. And he had people on that also talked about parents passing away, and he had Karen Kilgariff on because you know comedians, they know each other, about because her mother also had dementia. I think it's called like Shattered or Scattered or something, I can't remember, but so I've always followed him because I loved that podcast. Like I wanted him to have him on Pain in the Pod, but could never get it to work, probably because he just like didn't reply to me. But anyway, so I followed him all this time. So he lost his house, but he was posting about other people, like GoFundMe's for like his kid's favorite preschool teacher lost the house in Altadena, and he was like, so give to this, whatever. And then somebody set up a GoFundMe for him. And I was like, wow. So he's been posting about other people and didn't even post about his own house.
Sweet. Yeah.
So anyway, like I gave to the preschool teacher, and then I gave to his, like I don't know them, but I just have I just knocked my fan over, sorry. I've just followed him for so many years that, but I think, Kate, that would be a great person to have on your Saturday series. Okay. Because he had that impactful podcast about his father. And then of course now he's in this situation. Obviously he's doing great. I mean, as far as professionally. But it's pretty interesting to me. Like he has a video of him like going down his street where they like let him in, you know, and like
they went back like yesterday. Yeah. A lot of them went back.
This was from a couple of weeks ago. Okay. But anyway, that would be an interesting person for you to interview for a Saturday series, because he's had again, he doesn't know me or anything, but I did donate to his GoFundMe.
Well, you know, I'm interviewing next week is a gentleman, Royal Ramey, he was actually a prisoner who worked in the fire, you know, for putting out fires while he was a prisoner. And then he started a nonprofit, which helps prisoners who, like when they get out, getting jobs with the fire service.
Okay, I love that. I loved it because, you know, as you know, we cover Love After Lockup, and Ear Hustle is one of my favorite podcasts. So I really was very interested about the prisoners that were fighting the fires. I was like, wow, here's a chance to really like give back, do something, look good to the parole board, like all that, you know?
Did you see the video of John Legend down there with the prisoners?
No.
Go to his Instagram. Yeah, he's just talking to them, and he just really has, you know, a kind of great rundown of like what the program is, but he started singing to them, and you're just like, oh. Or Jelly Roll. Did you see him when he went to the prison and he was singing to them?
No, because I do love Jelly Roll.
You want to watch that because he kind of goes up to kind of like the gate, you know, the kind of the fence, and they're all singing a song and their hands are in the air, and you're just like, hope is so important. Yeah. Hope is so important. You give somebody like, we can move on from this. We can build something. I had a friend in high school who went to prison, and through the time that he was there, I would exchange letters, and I would send him pictures from the beach and stuff. Yeah. And he was selling marijuana, but someone put a gun in his car.
Oh, geez.
So it added years onto his, anyway, so he got out and he reunited with his like childhood girlfriend, and they have a baby now, but he worked his way up at a company. He's like really like at an executive level now. And
that's just a great story.
Totally, like, yeah. But the whole time he was in prison, I felt so upset because I was representing lawyers in my job as like a publicist. And I knew he didn't have adequate counsel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what can I do? Like, I feel like I harbor some guilt. Well, like, could I have done more to maybe get him out? But like, it was like, how was I going to get him an attorney? I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
But
Well,
he's
you're like 24
totally,
and you're trying to find him an attorney.
he had, but I would send him books.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. You know, what I remember my husband first was like, why are you writing? Because I would get letters from the prison. He's like, who are you writing?
Yeah.
And I always went back to, God forbid something happened to you or to me, and you felt like everyone in the world forgot about you.
Yeah.
And like, he wanted to read books and he forgot what it looked like to look at the beach.
Yeah.
And he loved the stories of like when Mia was little, like I would tell like stupid stories about like taking her out, like hung on to every word. And you can't forget about people who maybe they don't make the best decisions, but we have to give space that people can turn their lives around and have incredible lives afterward.
You guys, this has been Inspirational Moment by Kate Casey.
Oh, really?
Deep Thoughts by Jack Handey. You guys, that's a real old reference. Kate, tell everybody where they can find your amazing Substack. And of course, everybody knows your podcast, but give us all the things, give us all the juice.
Okay, so every week you can go to my Substack at katecasey.substack.com and you just sign up and you get an email every Sunday on what you should be watching this week in unscripted TV. So reality shows, documentaries, all that stuff. Anything that's not scripted.
Wait, let me interrupt you because this is all I do. This past week, Kim from 90 Day Cray Cray, our friend, our mutual friend, she wrote me and goes, oh, like this show is terrible. This show's terrible. I'm trying to figure out what we should cover next. And I said, oh, did you watch this? Did you watch that? I go, why are you asking me? I said, did you look at Kate Casey's list? She goes, genius. She wrote back, thank you. I said, what are you doing? Why are you asking me? She goes, genius. I got to go check Kate's list. Yeah. Everybody checks your list, man.
Oh, good.
It's really good.
Well, nothing makes me happier than when somebody writes me and they're like the Avicii documentary is an example. I put that on. It was Netflix. It was right at Christmas time. I cried my face off. I wouldn't necessarily have picked that if I saw it somewhere, but I was curating the list that week and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Like I like music docs. And it was profoundly moving. And so I had a lot of people that wrote me too and said, I don't think I would have ever watched this, but I'm completely changed because of it. He just has a remarkable story. And that's one that will really lift your soul. Avicii, Avicii.
So it's substack.katecasey.com.
So katecasey.substack.com. Anybody that you know that has a Substack, and you can explore Substacks, you can find a number of different mental health, wellness, whatever.
Yeah.
It's that person's name.substack.com. Yeah. So I've got that. Yeah, I've got a great Facebook group, Reality of Life with Kate Casey, and I have bonus episodes on Patreon where I talk about even more nonsense. But during the week, I've got 6 episodes a week. So every Monday, I'm going to tell you what to watch. Tuesday through Friday, I'm going to interview the talent, the producers, the executive producers of all those interesting things that oftentimes are in the what to watch list. Like this week, I covered Sean Combs documentary, an O.J. Simpson documentary, a true crime documentary, The Bachelor, Curious Case of Natalia Grace. And then every Saturday, I have an episode with somebody I think has like a really interesting personal story. It has featured Olympic track athletes, authors, comedians. I just had Laura Geller, who has Laura Geller Beauty.
Oh, God, I've got to listen to that. I use all that makeup.
She is up your alley. By the way, she loves 90 Day Fiancé. You should have her on to talk about it.
I'm going to write it down, Laura.
She told me, she's like, I watch so much reality TV. She's like, I love 90 Day Fiancé. Have her on to talk about 90 Day Fiancé.
All right. I'm writing
She's, by the way, great makeup. And she has been on QVC for 27 years. QVC really is
I didn't know that.
Go for women over 40. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Literally, I just saw the ads pop up and started using it because I knew other people was using. I was influenced somewhere along the way.
She's good makeup, and you know who else who's good makeup too is Jenny McCarthy. It's all vegan. It's all clean.
Oh, interesting.
She's got great makeup brushes. Her eyeshadow palette's great, but also great glosses. And those of you listening who have daughters, my daughters love her makeup, and I feel good about it. Mia's actually at Nationals wearing Jenny's eyelashes.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got, as per usual, look at this list now of things I've got.
So what's gonna be on the tackle list of things to watch?
I think I'm going to watch the Max doc about Diddy, and I think I'll skip the Peacock one.
Yeah.
And the OJ doc because
does your husband like true crime stuff?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say
the OJ doc because I worked for Turner Broadcasting in the CNN building while the trial was going on.
You will like it then.
In the bathroom with Greta Van Susteren. They shared the bathroom with us. Greta Van Susteren and the other guy with the white hair. Those two guys they were the two that did all the coverage, and she was in DC and he was in LA. Wow. And so because of the time difference, it would be towards the end of the day and court would be in session. It would be time for me to leave. And a lot of times I just wouldn't leave because I was watching it.
Yeah. Wow.
I watched every single minute at my desk because I was in CNN building.
I feel like you're even going to watch this and there's still going to be things you're going to go, wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I knew it so well, like the back of my hand, because I watched every minute of it. I think that probably a lot of it I did know, but I've forgotten.
You may have forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be good. I'm going to watch that.
But the Avicii one is really kind of like a soul lifter. Listen, he died by suicide. So it's heartbreaking that way. But I feel like lately I've been really into stories of people that are mad geniuses. I feel like we're all mad geniuses in our own way. Martha Stewart's a mad genius. Avicii was a mad genius. He would go in and retool a song. And what you will see in the doc are people like Chris Martin, like really famous artists who are like, I'm blown away by this guy's talent, how he totally flipped something around and made it sound. Aloe Black is in it. Do you remember he made that song?
Pill and Ibiza.
Wake me up. Wake me. Wake me. By the way, nicest person, met him in a pool. We have a mutual friend in Hawaii. He was very kind to my kids. Really sweet, sweet man. Very talented. And the scene about them making that song will lift your soul because you're watching two people who probably were kids in school that were quiet and kind of in the corner and did their own thing. And you see them blossom as men and they collaborate on this song that has truly touched billions of people, I would assume at this point.
I know that song.
And then you think about like as moms right now, we think of our own kids and our kids' friends, and there are kids that we know that are little mad geniuses in the making, and it's our job to help them figure out what their genius is. Like, I feel like I'm a mad genius with like details about people, and like I can find the most interesting person in the world. My husband is like a numbers genius with his like tech. My son is like a stat genius with like sports. Like everybody's got their thing. And it's a beautiful thing when you lean into it and then people get to celebrate. Like, what makes you unique? You know? That's why you're going to love it.
Inspiration Corner with Kate Casey. Pill and Ibiza was by Mike Posner, but there is a line in it that said, because took a pill and Ibiza. Because Avicii said it was cool or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad too. Yeah.
You guys follow Kate Casey, KateCaseySubstack.com. Also, she has a great podcast, The Reality Life with Kate Casey. You already know that. But listen, there's 6 episodes a week. You'll find at least 5 that you like.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And you guys follow me on Instagram at Pink Shade Pod and listen here. And you guys, let's see what else is happening. I got an interview coming out this week with Sarah from Sold on SLC. And that is over on the Prime feed, my recap of that show. And this weekend I'll be back with Amy to talk about The Last Resort. It drags on, it'll drag on until April, but we're still talking about it and we're still enjoying it because nobody's crazier and more unhinged than Florian, and we're here for Florian. And that's great, Kate. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. Ads not read by me, Mary Payne, don't necessarily reflect the views of Pink Shade. If you'd like to listen to ad-free, you're going to go on over to Supercast or Patreon, and you can find the links to Pink Shade Prime at pinkshadepodcast.com.